Right now, you're moving through a loop designed long before you knew it existed. Every event, every pause, every instinct that led you here is part of a structure older than memory itself. The moment your finger stopped scrolling and your eyes caught this frame wasn't coincidence, it was choreography. This isn't just another message you happened to stumble upon. It's an echo meant to meet you at the exact moment your energy became ready to release what you've been unconsciously carrying. What's about to unfold is not random, it's a closing cycle. By the time you reach the end, you'll understand why certain lessons never return once they're fully lived. Integration makes repetition unnecessary. The universe doesn't repeat mastery, it rewards it. Before every transformation, there's a whisper, a quiet shift too subtle for the untrained ear. Have you ever noticed that right before something changes, life grows strangely still? It's not silence, it's calibration. You might feel a soft tug, the urge to look twice, to slow down, to send that message you almost didn't, or to click on something that inexplicably feels like it's calling your name. Those tiny hesitations, those gentle pauses between action and impulse, are not empty. They're signals, invisible invitations from the unseen architecture of timing. The universe speaks fluently in whispers, and you've just answered one. That flicker of curiosity, that half-second detour, might be the most important movement your soul makes this season. When you find yourself searching for meaning, clarity, or even just the next right feeling, that hunger doesn't appear from nowhere. It's evidence that something beneath the surface is already reorganizing. What feels like confusion is simply your awareness adjusting to a higher pattern. Systems thinkers call this the input phase, the stage where fresh information enters a living system, not to overwhelm it, but to rewire it. You, right now, are standing in that exact space. You're not broken or behind, you're processing. Every question, every ache, every restless thought is your inner circuitry preparing to transmit at a clearer frequency. The unease isn't failure, it's alignment under construction. But here's the fascinating part. How does life know when to deliver exactly what you're ready for? How can a sentence, a passing image, or a random encounter arrive at the precise moment you can finally understand it? It's as if time folds in on itself, layering the message right in front of you, only when comprehension is possible. That's not magic, that's resonance. When your emotional field vibrates at a specific tone, it begins pulling in reflections that match it. Energy seeks its own frequency. The thoughts you dwell in, the emotions you nurture, all of them act as tuning forks, shaping what becomes visible in your reality. Think of your emotions as invisible coordinates. Every feeling, peace, fear, wonder, hope, emits a signal. The universe responds not to words, but to vibration. When you're open, curious, and emotionally available, life arranges itself to meet you at that level of readiness. You begin to attract information, people, and opportunities that harmonize with your frequency. It's not coincidence. It's a system syncing with itself. You've been noticing timely messages, not because the world suddenly changed, but because you did. Your inner filters expanded, allowing you to perceive what was always waiting in plain sight. Ever experienced months of confusion followed by one simple sentence that made everything click? That sentence wasn't new. The information existed long before you heard it. What changed was your ability to interpret it. Cognitive science calls this selective attention, the brain's mechanism for filtering billions of inputs every second and only spotlighting what aligns with your current focus or emotional need. That's why once you buy a new car, you start seeing that same model everywhere. The cars didn't multiply, your awareness did. Similarly, when wisdom lands perfectly on time, it's because your consciousness finally opened the right window. And that changes how we understand timing itself. Maybe nothing truly arrives. Maybe everything is already present, waiting for the moment you can finally recognize it. Readiness doesn't wait for opportunity. It reveals it. It's not the world that's slow to deliver. It's our awareness that takes time to catch up. Once the fog clears, what once felt like coincidence suddenly looks like precision. Every meeting, every message, every so-called random event becomes proof of orchestration. You weren't late, you were ripening. It's like the universe has been laying the groundwork quietly behind the curtain. The path you're now walking wasn't drawn overnight. It was paved through 1,000 invisible preparations. Each doubt, delay, and detour sculpted the timing for this moment. Only when your perception reached a certain threshold did the door appear. Not because it was built then, but because you were finally ready to see it. This is what awareness does. It doesn't summon reality. It unveils it. This isn't about decoding every sign or predicting when the next shift will come. It's about learning to notice the subtle changes in the whisper's tone. The closer you listen, the more you realize that transformation rarely begins with grand gestures. It begins quietly, in perception. You stop asking, when will it happen? And start asking, what's already happening that I haven't recognized yet? That shift in question changes everything. Openness turns into momentum, and momentum becomes manifestation. Life doesn't knock to announce itself. It stands patiently at the door until your awareness invites it in. And when you begin to see through that lens, everything starts connecting. Suddenly, short encounters, brief conversations, and one-time moments reveal their deeper function. They don't repeat because they don't need to. Once they've fulfilled their purpose, their energy moves forward. Some people, some experiences, are designed to appear only once, like a key that unlocks a door and then dissolves because its job is complete. They don't return, not out of absence, but out of efficiency. Completion doesn't circle back. It expands outward. It's strange, isn't it? How a single sentence can alter your entire trajectory, while years of noise leave no trace. We assume meaning comes from duration, but impact comes from clarity. A spark lasts seconds, yet can burn a forest to life. Not every connection is meant to linger. Some are designed to ignite. The mistake we make is equating permanence with value. But in truth, some souls are sent not to stay, but to awaken. Their presence is brief because their influence is immediate. They pass through like a flare in darkness, bright, startling, transformative, and that's enough. We call it loss when the spark disappears. But what if it's actually completion? Endings feel harsh because the mind craves repetition, but energy doesn't waste motion. Once a loop fulfills its purpose, it closes itself. Think of the people who appeared in your life for a short time, yet left a mark that outlasted their presence. You don't speak anymore, yet something they said continues to shape your decisions. That isn't absence, that's absorption. You integrated their lesson into your identity. It doesn't require them to stay for the impact to remain. Every encounter is an exchange, and every exchange seeks balance. On an energetic level, the universe functions through circulation. When two frequencies meet, they trade what's missing until both are recalibrated. Then the connection naturally dissolves. That's not rejection. It's equilibrium. It's like a teacher who disappears the moment the student understands, not out of indifference, but out of trust. The test ends because comprehension begins. Yet, in real time, it feels like loss because we mistake the messenger for the message. Psychology calls this reframing closure, redefining endings as completed transactions rather than emotional abandonments. When you adopt that lens, goodbyes lose their sting. What once felt like rejection becomes recognition. The system has finished its cycle. Emotional peace begins when you stop labeling departures as punishment and start seeing them as proof of growth. Once you grasp that every connection is an energy contract designed for transformation, you stop fearing its expiration. Things don't end to hurt you, they end to hand you back to yourself. And maybe closure doesn't happen after the goodbye at all. Maybe it's happening throughout the story. Every shared glance, every quiet drift, every internal knowing that something is shifting. That's closure already taking shape. Your intuition often processes endings before your mind does. That's why some farewells feel peaceful even while they ache. The soul recognizes when the exchange is complete. The mind just takes a little longer to catch up. When you understand that, the panic of loss fades. You start to see that every goodbye is actually a gentle graduation. This is the point where awareness becomes presence. You stop gripping for permanence and start trusting movement. You learn to let experiences come, fulfill their role, and leave without demanding they stay. That's when life softens. Because what's truly meant for you doesn't have to reappear. It lives inside you. The lessons, the clarity, the transformation, they're embedded now. Permanence isn't physical, it's energetic. And that realization is the beginning of peace. Then comes the moment of integration, the completion cycle. There's a still point where searching naturally dissolves. Understanding replaces curiosity, and the loop quietly closes. It doesn't announce itself with fireworks. It simply settles in the body as calm knowing. That's when what was once external becomes internalized. Words turn into wiring. Awareness becomes instinct. Every insight follows that same arc. Discovery, digestion, embodiment. Once embodied, you don't need to keep seeking. The message becomes your default state. The human mind, though, is addicted to the chase. We crave the rush of discovery, the next sign, the next explanation, the next affirmation that we're on the right path. But that very chase often blocks integration. Searching gives the illusion of motion, but healing requires stillness. Constantly reaching outward prevents your inner system from processing what it's already received. Real understanding doesn't vanish when the noise stops. It finally surfaces. Here's the truth. Receiving wisdom is simple. Living it is the real work. Stillness feels empty because it lacks the stimulation of pursuit, but that quiet is where the new pattern begins to stabilize. Growth always happens in the gap between knowing and becoming. That's where transformation matures. When you stop reaching for more input, you start embodying output. You stop being a collector of lessons and become the lesson itself. There's a difference between searching and integrating. Searching moves you toward what's missing. Integration draws it toward you. Once your energy assimilates a message, the outer world stops echoing it. The same videos, quotes, and reminders lose intensity. Not because you've lost interest, but because you've evolved past the need for them. That's not boredom. That's completion. Like hunger fading after nourishment, your system is signaling that it's full. Even in neuroscience, the same process unfolds. When understanding stabilizes, the brain rewires itself. Neural pathways strengthen, and the behavior that once required effort becomes automatic. Emotional learning follows the same rule. After enough reinforcement, the insight no longer feels like effort. It becomes instinct. You stop reminding yourself to act differently because the new response is now coded into your nature. That's the physical imprint of growth. Understanding turned reflex. And when that happens, you can feel it. There's an undeniable lightness in your body, a deep exhale that says, finally. The mental noise quiets, the urgency to seek dissolves, and calm replaces confusion. You're not grasping for meaning anymore because you've become the meaning. The cycle ends not with drama, but with peace. Searching gives way to stability, and life begins to move with your rhythm instead of against it. That's where you are right now. This isn't coincidence. The fact that you've reached this sentence and felt something settle inside you means the loop has closed. The purpose of this message has been fulfilled. You've already absorbed what you came here to find. From here, the journey isn't about gathering more signs. It's about trusting what's already alive within you. Understanding doesn't echo, it settles. So pause here. Let it land. You don't need to chase another message or decode another signal. You're already standing in the clarity you once searched for. The lesson is complete. The system has aligned. And the reason this moment feels final is because it is. You've crossed from seeking to knowing, from learning to living, from input to embodiment. And now, as this message fades, it leaves behind exactly what it came to deliver. Proof that you were never waiting for alignment. You were the alignment all along.